Hello everyone and welcome to another review. Today we're going to go ahead and cover a fragrance from the house of Creed. The fragrance was released this year. It's called Creed's Royal Mayfair. Relatively newer release from the house of Creed, and I'm happy to go ahead and take on this fragrance. Now, as I mentioned, this fragrance was released this year in 2015. The reason why this one is a little bit hyped is because it's a remake or a re-release of another fragrance that they put out before called Windsor. So it's supposedly the same fragrance. Creed representatives have sworn up and down that it is the same fragrance, and I will get upon that and I will touch upon that at a later time. Now, the fragrance is actually available in a couple sizes, in standard Creed sizes, which is pretty interesting. It's available in the 1 ounce, it's going to run you $240. 2.5 going to run you $360. The 4 ounce, $475. The 8 ounce is going to run you $650, and the 16 ounce is going to run you, the 8.4 ounce is going to run you $650, and the 17 ounce is going to run you $935. So, yeah, this is a little bit on the expensive side. Let's not kid ourselves, it's an expensive fragrance. And it doesn't surprise me because it's a re-release of one that was a limited edition and was an expensive fragrance by itself to begin with. Now, I actually went ahead and joined up in a split to get my hands on this fragrance. Just because it's been on my list and my watch list for fragrances for the wedding. And by the time you view this, actually not by the time you view this, it'll be a little bit later, you'll see a video where basically Becky and I cover this among other fragrances for that I'm going to be wearing for my wedding, basically. But either way, Royal Mayfair was on my eye, or specifically Windsor was on my eye for that matter, and a lot of people have probably heard me say that. So, with that, let's go ahead and get right into the notes of this fragrance. The notes of this fragrance consist of, at our top we've got gin, lime, and pine. Mid, we've got rose, and for our base, we've got orange, cedar, and eucalyptus. So immediately when you spray this scent, you get a eucalyptus vibe. It comes off and it smells a little bit medicinal, but it's immediately followed up by a strong rose and a strong pine smell. I don't really get much of the lime from this scent at all, even though it's highlighted in a lot, and I don't really get it. I'm really getting rose and pine, and to a lesser extent, I start getting some gin. Now, some of the notes actually disappear as you're wearing the fragrance. For example, the eucalyptus, it goes away after about, I would say, 10 minutes. And that's when I start to get a little bit more of the heavier gin smell. Now, gin itself isn't heavy, but it starts to really come out in the heart of the actual fragrance. And it remains kind of prominent throughout most of the fragrance for, I'd say, about 4 or 5 hours, and then that gin scent is gone and it's replaced with just rose and pine, and that's pretty much what I'm left with, which is actually a very pleasant smell. It's a great smelling scent that I actually love, and there's a reason that this was actually in consideration, and it still is in consideration for the top scents for or that I'm going to actually wear for my wedding, right? Down in Florida. I think it fits the vibe and it goes through. Now, I will say that there's a bit of a rant coming here, all right? So first bit, the concept behind Royal Mayfair was that it's the same fragrance as Windsor, supposedly, right? And the concept behind this is that it was named after the Duke of Windsor, basically, and they had created a fragrance for him back in 1935, and they were now recreating the fragrance now, right? Here's what I say to that. Bullshit. That I don't believe that happened. There is nothing to back that up out in external sources or anything like that. If I'm proven wrong, by all means, I will freely admit that I am wrong. It's just Creed is known to, I guess you could say, embellish on the history of fragrances. Like, I don't believe for a second either that they were heavily producing fragrances before 80 or 70 or something like that, but whatever. The second point that I wanted to bring up was, now I'm going to tell a little bit of a side story here, right? I'm going to tell you the story about the time that I thought that I bought a fake Creed fragrance, right? So, I'd always been smelling around Creed fragrances, and one of the fragrances from Creed that I really liked, I sampled many times, and I was like, man, this is a fantastic scent, I'm going to get it eventually, was Royal Water, right? Now, I happened to be browsing around on that, and somebody posted a link, and it turned out Walgreens was actually selling it and some other Creed fragrances for a discounted price. They were like trying to get rid of some stuff, and so it was like half off or something crazy like that. And I was like, sure, I'll buy it up. Walgreens seems like a reputable company. If it's a fake, I can go ahead and return it, right? So bought it, brought it home, was busy, with it, and I smelled it. As soon as I smelled it, I was like, this smells like royal water, but at the same time, something is off. Something is different. I don't think this is the same royal water. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe it's my head. Maybe I'm just imagining things. So I went back to the Creed store at not the Creed store, but Bergdorf Goodman, got myself a sample, brought it home, tested them side by side, and sure enough, while similar, they were not the exact same scent. The one that I bought from Walgreens smelled a little bit more floral. Now, I also noticed something else. The one that I got from Walgreens was in a frosted bottle, and the one that I kept smelling at the Bergdorf Goodman boutique was in a clear bottle, right? So I later did some research and learned that it was actually a re-release, same thing. The royal water that I'd smelled before was a version that was released specifically for honoring Princess Di, or something like that, right? So I was like, okay, and it was also the same type of fragrance where they claimed that it was the same. This was not the same. Bullshit again. It was the one that I had in the frosted glass, the one meant for Princess Di, had a lot more florals amped up in it. Whereas the one that I smelled with the clear one was a really sharp citrus scent that I really loved, and it kind of reminded me of like a hyped up version of Isimiake's L'Odyssée, without the sour note, of course. But yes, that's kind of what I was getting from it. Now let's come back to Royal Mayfair and Windsor. They say that it's the same scent. Bullshit. It's not the same scent again. It is not the same scent at all. Or, I wouldn't say at all. So, by same scent, they can convince me that they are the same notes in it. But the concentrations that they've made with it are not the same. So the Windsor that I smelled, and the one that I actually smelled off my friend, Michael, who actually has the Windsor release, basically. I think he bought a flacon of it, so he has Windsor. And the Windsor that I smelled was actually the pine was more amped up. It was a more masculine scent than it is now. Not to say that the scent now is a feminine scent, but it was a more masculine scent. So, at the end of the day, the fact that they change like the composition of it, but still have the same notes and call it the same fragrance, again, bullshit. It's not the same fragrance. It's slightly different than it is. So, while some people are saying that it's the same fragrance, I'm simply calling no, it's not the same fragrance, because of the fact it's definitely different. It's definitely a reformulation, if you will, of the original. At least that's my opinion. If you feel that I'm completely off base here and that Windsor smells the exact same as Royal Mayfair, please shoot me a line, send me a message, do whatever you gotta do. Leave it in the comments below, actually, and other people will compare it, and it'll be useful for them as well, too. Alright? So I can generally go about 4 sprays of this fragrance. I think it's a great scent for a casual, just going out with an open shirt, jeans, or not jeans, but, like slacks and, good dress shoes. At the same time, it's a great scent for upscale, which is why I'm thinking of it for my wedding as well, too. Right? Season, spring, summer, basically where hot weather is pretty much where this is actually ideal for, and I think it's great for an older person. I wouldn't necessarily put it in there for a younger person. Performance-wise, I get a respectable performance. I get anywhere between 5 and 8 hours on this. Sometimes, to be honest, it kind of veered more towards the middle range of that 5 to 8 hours for the scent. And compliments, this one did get compliments. I will say the compliments, though, led to different remarks like, oh, that smells great, from women. Compliments who said, oh, that actually smells like a great scent. Where can I get that? So some woman would be like, where can I get that scent? But to be fair, they smelled it at the top, and when they smelled it later, they were like, oh, okay, that smells more masculine. All right? So if I'm going to go ahead and give this fragrance a rating, I give it a rating an 8 out of 10. I think it's a solid offering from Creed. It's a great smelling scent. At the end of the day, it's definitely unique. I haven't smelled anything like it. It's a great smell. The downside to this fragrance, obviously, is the price. I had to get it on a split. I was not willing to pay that much for the scent. It's a great scent, but I'm just not willing to pay that much. The price is really a killer for that. The other thing is it can lean femme, as I mentioned before. So for all you guys, you might want to be aware of that. This one can lean a little bit femme. If you try Windsor, I don't think that leans feminine at all. I think that one is well stated as well. But this one, a little bit different on that aspect. And obviously, it's a little bit harder to get, and it's really not that versatile. Despite the fact that, yes, you can wear it casually, and I think upscale occasions are good for it. I do think this tee still tends to kind of lean more towards special occasion type scent, and if not for the price alone. All right? So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free. Leave me a message, send me a note, do whatever you got to do. I'm sorry this video was longer than my normal reviews, but I just kind of had to get that off my chest. All right? Thanks, guys. You guys take care of yourself and have a great day.